Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I'm one of your two hosts, Nor Kyle, and we have our other host,
which is not Nur Kyle. It's Mushtaq Ali.
There we go. We did it. We did it. I forgot my name for a sec. Gotta get back into the routine of things, right?
Yeah, and whenever you do that, I have to make sure that I'm not you, because I mostly do that off your name. If you don't say
Oh,
I'm Nur Kyle, I'm going, wait, am I?
where do I come in?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, Uh, if you follow us regularly, you know that we took a break last week for pretty important reasons, and we were uh, dealing with the loss of our last living teacher, so we had to take some time to process that and pay our respects. So that is why we were not around last weekend. But we've had a week to do our thing, and all is well. Our teacher lived a full, wonderful life and was surrounded by loved ones till the end. So, it's just one of those things that we all must face eventually, right? And luckily, Mushtaq and I have each other for support. And we have all of you. And I want to thank you all for your lovely messages and your thoughtfulness and your kindness. We really appreciate that. So, other than that, do we have any announcements? Our retreat actually has just begun, our virtual retreat for the 2023 season. This is our fourth annual one. So, those of you who are joining us, thank you so much. And there is always next year if you haven't been able to participate this year. This is something we do every year, God willing, and we will continue to do so. All right, what else, Mushtaq?
That's pretty much it. Ain't got much
Yeah.
to say. Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, there's a YouTube spiel, the whole
Oh,
liking,
yes, the
commenting,
YouTube
subscribing
spiel.
thing.
Do the
Yeah.
YouTube spiel. Come on, do it. Do the YouTube spiel.
We really appreciate when we know that our work is being seen and is making a difference. So, you can let us know if that's the case by liking our videos, leaving interesting, funny, insightful comments and good questions, and subscribing,
Subscribing.
obviously.
Subscribing.
And of course, if you want to engage with us off of YouTube, you can join our Facebook group. You can email us. We do one-on-one sessions. We keep forgetting to mention this for some reason, but we don't want you to forget that each of us do one-on-one sessions. And the way to connect with us on that front is initially through email, just to get the ball rolling. I think that's it for now, right?
That's it.
Yeah. So, thank you for putting up with the spiel. This evening, we are going to be talking about the path, the way, and the work.
The school.
In the school, yes. And this is a critical topic for us because we do have a pretty unique point of view, as we'll see. Take it away, Mushtaq.
Thought you were taking this one.
Oh, I have blabbered on enough for the past several minutes. Your
All
turn.
right. So let's talk about there is the work. The work is about becoming awake, becoming conscious, stepping away from your habitual self and discovering your original self, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
find
your
that
unconditioned self. What is the
that's,
unconditioned self? That's the question.
yeah,
That's
and
the work.
that's the kind of question I get asked a lot by people who are not familiar with the work that we do, and maybe they follow us, on the periphery, like my family and friends, they're like, what is the work? And you're beginning to answer that question.
Yes. Now, I can tell you what the work isn't as well. The work isn't achieving cosmic consciousness. The work isn't finding bliss. The work isn't any of these things. The work is to wake up, to discover your original self before your programming, but as an adult, not an infant. And so that when we say the work, that's what we're talking about. You know, you can go to Guru What's His Nanda and get all blissed out and achieve high states of being and develop cities and all of this kind of stuff. And that's not the work.
How about healing your trauma? Is that the work?
That's not the work. I mean, healing your trauma is important. We're not saying don't heal your trauma, but we're saying healing your trauma is a terminated practice, or it should be. You understand what I'm saying? I have trauma. I heal the trauma. Then over here, I'm post-trauma. What do I do with the whole rest of my life? That's where the work starts. The work is generative, not remedial. The work does not involve itself with personalities. We do not care about great grandmaster Fred. Great grandmaster Fred can say all the things he wants to say, and we don't care what he says. We care if you are awake or not. And that's one of the things that happens is people come to us and they say, hey, Maharishi, what's his name, said this. And we're like, so?
Often it's, hey, Gurdjieff said
Yeah,
this.
that's the fun one for us.
And often our answer is, so?
Yeah, or sometimes, do you even know what that means? That's one that it comes up a lot.
You mean towards us?
It, towards them when they say Gurdjieff says.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And what am I leaving out about work and not work? Oh, yes. Holding hands, chanting and dancing in circles is not the work. Spinning about in ecstasy is not the work. The work is waking up, letting go of your conditioned self, and learning to be your original self, your unconditioned self. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do that. We have not cornered the market on the work, and we would never claim to do that. There are lots of different ways to do the work. There are lots of methodologies. There are really good people out there that are definitely focused in on this. And some of them have, well, all of them have their particular slant, which gets us to the path or the way. In Arabic, tariqa. there are a lot of different methods for doing the work. Not every method will work for every person. For instance, James would suck at Zen, totally suck at it. I understand, James, because I totally suck at Zen. It's like, you want me to sit for how long? You want me to not say anything? What if I think you're an idiot? I can't say that you're an idiot. So much for Zen. But there are a lot of people that Zen works for. So understand that not every path leads to the top of the mountain, but a whole buttload of paths. That's a technical term. One buttload of paths lead to the top of the mountain. Oh yeah, the Neo-Advaitist people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're not the work. I'm not quite sure what they are. And I'm not quite sure what most of them have been smoking.
They haven't been sharing.
No. So, of the buttload of paths that lead to the top of the mountain, each one that does is represented by a school, for lack of a better term. It's not really a school, but that's what we call it. If we called it what it really was, nobody would want to do it. So, we are part of a particular school of how to get up that damn mountain. We have our methods. Our methods do not work for everyone. We don't claim that they do. Our dearly departed teacher used to say, not everybody who comes to you belongs to you. And he lived that. He would have hundreds of people come wanting to be his students. And to a large percentage of them, he would say, you know, you're not mine. You're welcome to stay here. You're welcome to meet with us and spend time with us, and we will give you shelter until you find your place. But this is not your place. And that made him almost unique in Sufi teachers, because during this benighted time, I don't know what the Islamic version of the Kali Yuga is, but whatever it is, that's this. The people passing themselves off as Sufi teachers will take anybody as long as they have, you know, enough money or they're cute girls.
Yeah.
And it's always cute girls. Well, I suppose that there's got to be one or two that like cute boys, but I don't know those. Not being a cute boy, I never encountered them.
Yeah, or you have teachers who are looking for their flock in a covert, egocentric sort of way.
That's the same
It's like,
people.
yeah, the collection. And he didn't need that, and we don't need that.
No, for me, that was a really powerful lesson, watching him over and over again, never turning anybody away, but definitely not taking everybody. So, a school is a particular methodology. And we have a particular methodology, and it starts with 8 things. Our work is founded in breath. These are not my words. These are words of some of the greatest sheikhs of our particular lineage and of our brother lineages, the people who come from the font, the original master that created these lines. That's the first thing, above every other thing. So we practice the breath work.
And
And we
anyone,
have very specific ways of doing that.
yes. And anyone who has watched our 9 precept videos may be familiar with some of what Mushtaq's talking about now.
Yeah. The way that we were taught breath is very specific. Your breath is like a fine instrument or like a funky $25 melody guitar, depending on how you've treated it. You know, it could be a Les Paul, it could be a melody. But unlike a guitar, your breath can transform. You can grow your breath from a melody to a Les Paul, from a Kmart special to something worthy of a concert hall. And you play your breath like you play a fine instrument. This is why we do not have a one-size-fits-all breath practice. We have a couple of breath practices that we give to everybody in the beginning, and that's just to get you started. After that, we craft your practice to you and what you need, as opposed to that guy and what he needs, because he isn't as important as you. You should have the better breath practice. And that's why we don't let you share your breath practices with each other, because we don't want the other guy to know that you have a better breath practice than he does. So that's the first pillar of our work. The second pillar of our work is fasting. Fasting is part of our way. And it's something that we do, dare I say it, religiously. It is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It is a foundational practice of Jewish tradition. The old Christians even used to do it before they figured out that they didn't need to. But for us, fasting is a spiritual discipline. And so we make sure that we incorporate that into our work. And it's not like we're starving ourselves all the time. God forbid. It is, we take time to give our body the opportunity to reset itself by toning down the food intake. I mean, think about it. What if you had to digest all the time? Here you are, you're the stomach, and you'd like nothing more than a nap, but that idiot up there keeps shoveling food into you. 24 hours a day, you're like, all right, let me get out the hydrochloric acid, shake, shake, shake. Your poor digestive system is going to get tired after a while. Let it rest. And if you do, it will do wonderful things to your consciousness. I kid you not. And we have specific ways of fasting. And again, there's a general way that we recommend in the beginning. And then once we have gotten to know you, we tailor the fast to your needs. One person might fast for 24 hours. Another person might fast for 12 hours. and each is different. Along with fasting, one of the pillars of our work is diet. We are advocates of eating in such a way that your body feels respected. And, for those of you who are going through the retreat right now, you're going to experience a little bit of that with our reset diet. We don't say keep the reset diet all the time. I don't keep the reset diet all the time, but I keep a slightly modified version of it all the time. When we're in the retreat, for instance, I won't eat beans. Otherwise, I eat beans because I tolerate them well. I have the genetic makeup to eat beans and be fine with them. But at least once a year, I spend a month without them. And if I ever spend a month without them and then start them up again and go, oh my God, I feel terrible, then I will stop. So, diet as a spiritual practice. And that has wonderful advantages because you get, along with diet, you get cooking. And along with cooking, you can get community. But before we get there, the next pillar of our particular school is exercise. I noticed, God, decades ago, if you have a room full of spiritual people and you need to clear them out for some reason, and this works better than shouting fire, tell them that they're going to have to break a sweat. They will be gone so fast. It's a sad state of affairs. But the work is the action of an adult. And adults know that they have to take care of their body in order to have the energy to do the work. And you will have noticed that a whole bunch of our people, especially the ones who are moving into teacher tracks, are involved in physical work because this particular school draws that kind of person in.
Yeah, and it's interesting because my baseline tendencies do not lead me towards physical activity and breaking a sweat and all of that stuff. But I have come to understand as I grow into the teacher role myself, you cannot leave the body behind. You have to take it into account through your growth, and you can't move forward without it, really. This is where things happen. The body is where things happen in your spiritual growth. This is not something that's happening, what's that word?
In a fantasy world?
In a fantasy world, yes, there's that for sure. That's definitely the direction of where my thought is going. You cannot transcend the body in this way. From our perspective, all of this is a full package. Mind, body, spirit, if we want to separate those things out, really, you have to think of them as one.
Now, somebody is going to say, yeah, what about quadriplegics? Are you saying that they can't achieve awakening? And the answer is, of course they can. They just need a different set of exercises. And those exercises might not look physical at all. But since none of you are in that position, we don't need to go there. Just nobody is left behind. And exercise is pretty wide open but for all of us, those of us who can walk down the block and back, exercise is a very important part of the work. And it's something that we see in lots of different spiritual traditions, right? You go to India, or you used to go to India, and you would find the yogis on the banks of the Indus or the Ganges, swinging heavy clubs and big maces and giant rings of stone that they would lift up and put over their neck and walk around carrying and then lift up and put down and rinse to repeat. All of this physical stuff along with their yoga stretches. And it is our contention that this school must do that to be this school. There's other schools where you can just sit and talk, and that's okay. This is just not that. And
We do that too from time to time.
No, we sit and talk, but we also walk and talk.
Yeah.
And so that is an important part of the work. The next pillar that the school is based on is meditative practice. Meditation is a terrible word. I hate using it, but it's what we got in English. Mind-body disciplines, learning to quiet the mind, to be present, to remember yourself, to do all of this stuff. All of these practices are an essential part of the work. And just like everything else, we have a few of those that we give to everybody just to get them started. And then your meditative practice has to be streamlined to you. It has to be crafted for your particular ego needs. So for one person, it's going to be sit facing the corner and shut up. For another person, it is going to be walk for the next 5 miles and keep yourself from thinking. It's going to be different. And so we have that. Then in our school, a student is encouraged to have a craft, to do something that develops fine motor skill. And it can be any of 10,000 things. Anything from carving spoons to interpretive dance. You can sing, you can speak, you can recite poetry, you can do beadwork, you can sculpt, you can carve, you can cook. Cooking requires amazing fine motor skills, especially if you like the tips of your fingers.
Yep. Embroidery.
Yes, embroidery is very important. Embroidery is one of those refined crafts.
Sewing in general.
Yes, yeah. Fast lane to enlightenment. And each craft teaches your mind to be focused. The more you can maintain fine motor skills, the longer you live. Go figure. Two things predicate your life expectancy: your balance and your fine motor skills. Of the two, balance, they say, is the most important, but I think fine motor skills are a close second. Then the eighth pillar, the one that many schools leave out, and that's community. Now you might say, but wait, oh great grandmaster, what about that school over there? There's all of these people. But are they really a community, or are they all focused on a teacher? Why did King Arthur determine that there must be a round table? Not a square table, not a triangular table, but a round table. And yes, he did have the biggest chair, but go ahead, James. Tell us.
So no one was perceived as sitting at the head,
Yes.
Right.
that everyone was involved.
Everyone was sat equally. There was no high place and low place. And I would suggest to you that any place that has a powerful ego leading their particular path does not have a community. Not really. We only think that because we've forgotten what real community is. These 8 things are the basis of our school. And they go back a very long way in one form or another. The way I've stated them is a modern take on it. But it's ancient. And it works for some people. Not everybody can live in this kind of school because it requires being responsible for yourself. There is no daddy figure or mommy figure going, James, you have not done your homework. You don't get that.
Yeah, we're not going to make you do things. You really have to want it, and you have to have a certain degree of self-motivation. Okay, so Halil says, I only counted 7.
Yeah. Don't you just hate the mathematicians? You're probably right. There's only 7.
I don't have it in front of me, so I can't see.
I don't have it in front of me either. I'm riffing off of memory for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, say 7. Either that or there's a secret one that we aren't telling you about. But yeah, it's 7. Yeah, the 8 is the octave in a real sense, in the sense that it's the doubling of the tonic. What's the tonic in this?
Khalil says breath.
Yes.
Our work is founded in breath.
Yes, that's the tonic note of our work. So when we get through all of these 7, we are back to this. If we were looking at the Enneagram of the hero's journey, this would be the student becomes the master. The last line, the 7 to 1 line. As a matter of fact, just for fun, I'm going to show you what this looks like on an Enneagram. Not the discrete 7 steps, but how they look in the world. So get ready for a screen share. Look, Mom, I'm sharing.
Aw. All right, here we have it. The
Okay.
way.
This will give us some deeper insight into what we're talking about. Up here at the 0-9 point is the way. This is this particular path. When you enter in on this, this is your entering shock. This says, hey, dude, there's a way. You might want to find it, which moves you into the dough point, which is here at 1, searching for the school. This is the most dangerous place. This is so incredibly dangerous here. This is red water, if you know that phrase.
Not everyone is going to. Why don't you
Okay,
explain
red
that?
water is, there is blood in the water, and there are sharks. And they're all attracted to this.
And let's just say it's an ocean full of sharks. Like, they're
Yes.
everywhere. It is teeming with lots of people wanting to steal your time, steal your money, or,
Steal your soul.
and some of them actually may have very benevolent and supportive intentions, but how do you tell the difference between those who want to eat you alive and those who really want to support you in moving forward? That's why this is such a vulnerable period.
Yeah. And the number of people who get lost here is pretty epic. And you will find them in all sorts of places. You know, you go to Mind Valley and it's full of these droids who are just like glassy-eyed and shoveling their money at the organization.
It's kind of our neighborhood
Yeah, it's our
tech bro
neighborhood
cult,
gentleman
so.
there. Yeah. You have had to pick up some damaged souls from there.
So moving on to point 2,
That's here.
learning the practice.
So you bump into what may be a school and you get a practice. Whoever is involved with the school says, do this. And one of many things might happen. That practice might lead you to a state of ecstasy, in which case I recommend that you leave immediately.
Yeah,
Or,
why is that? Because that's going to be a sign that it's working for many people.
yeah, only ecstasy is not the work.
Right, as we said in the beginning.
Yeah, ecstasy is not the work. The work does not give a damn about your ecstatic states. They're just distractions. So here, you're hoping to find a practice that helps you to wake up. This is why when people come and watch our videos, we will say things like, ask yourself, am I awake or am I asleep? And then check in and see which one is true. Because that's a trick that tricks people into waking up for a second. Now, if you find the right school and you begin to do a practice that actually works to move you towards waking up, the next thing that happens is here, the first shock, the first conscious shock, which is an invitation. Did I spell that wrong? I spelled that wrong.
It's okay. We'll
ignore
fix
the
it.
spelling.
Yeah.
I was going fast. An invitation to the work. You're invited to the school in some way or another. And it's not like, I don't go, hey, Nancy, you ought to be in the school. Nancy goes, I think I might like to do this. And that's where I go, okay, I could see that. And that's the invitation. In order to get into this particular school, you have to ask and you have to be invited. If you accept the invitation to the work, then you begin receiving a personal program of the work. How to do the work for you, not how to do the work from some hypothetical person that achieved enlightenment under a tree 2,500 years ago. Right? We don't care about that dude. We care about you. What is it going to take for you to wake up today in the 21st century? Now, if you begin doing your personal program, your personalized program, and it has been well crafted for you, then at some point you're going to cross the equator and you're going to be doing the work. You're going to fail. You're going to do the work again, and you're going to fail, and you're going to do the work. You're going to fail. And this is going to happen for a period of time. Remember, in the hero's journey, this point is called the dark night of the soul, and it's called that for a reason. This is the area of most work. This is
0.5.
where you're doing your walking practice, and you go, oh shit, I'm thinking about dinner. And you pull yourself back to present, and you do your walking practice, and oh shit, I'm thinking about a new pair of shoes. And then you pull yourself back to present, and you do that for the next 5 miles. Nora's laughing because she was out walking today.
Yeah. I was busy thinking, how's my cardio? How's my cardio? So that was me.
If you have stuck with this long enough and made enough progress, you get to the second shock. The second shock is called opening to the grace of the school. Every real school has barakah. And this is not something that an individual has. If an individual says, I have the barakah, they're full of shit. The barakah exists whether they exist or not. They can be a conduit for it, but they don't own it. So the grace of the school is what you open to, and that gives you the energy. And that's the whole point of it, is to give you the energy to take that next step. And without that, it's very difficult. I mean, nothing is impossible in that sense, but it's incredibly difficult to transition the second shock point without the barakah.
It's kind of the difference between just kind of going with the flow and white knuckling it, huh?
Yeah. And it's the difference of going, oh, I am backed by all of the great teachers in my line for the last 1700 years. Each one of them is standing behind me, pushing me. Yes, they're pushing me towards a cliff, but they're pushing me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a sense of not being alone in it too.
Yes.
And people have walked this road before you.
And in a sense, whether you believe it or not, something of them is still connected.
We have some questions from Hello, but I figure I'll save them until we get through the
Yeah,
Enneagram.
until we get through this, we're almost to the end.
Yeah.
Once we have stepped through this, we get to living a conscious life. This is the 7 point. This is the point where the teacher or the student becomes the teacher. And this is just a matter of, you've done the work, now refine the work. The work never ends. As long as you're breathing, the work does not end. You do not finish in this life. The work is infinite, and you want it to be infinite. The work is an infinite game, and you can go and look at the talk we did on finite and infinite games, because it's a really cool idea that we stole from somebody who is smarter than us. And point 8, if you are spending your time living a conscious life, you step into the place of the insan. It should be an I, not an E, sorry. Like I said, I was typing this up really fast. I will go back and correct it at some point. Insan al-Kamil. That means the finished human being, the completed human. To be complete means that you are awake, you are present, and you are an adult. You have broken through the chrysalis, and that happens down here around 6. You've left your larval stage, you're tearing your way out of the chrysalis, and boom, you are the butterfly.
And in a way, this is the natural state, like returning to that and
Yes.
letting it reveal itself through you.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go through the moving lines for this, because you guys by now should be able to look at this and go, oh, I know the moving lines. I see how that they can work with each other. And that's part of your assignment. So I'm going to stop the share, and let's find out what questions
we've had waiting for us. Yes. Yeah. So, for those who are not familiar with those inner lines on the Enneagram, we've done some videos on that in the past. Check out our Enneagram series. I think we have a playlist on just that, right? And if we don't, we should. So, anyways, to
Okay.
Khalil's questions.
Okay, holding a question is actually in the meditative practice.
Okay.
That's one of many forms of meditative practice.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
very important, because oftentimes the question is more important than the answer.
So I just want to make sure those who don't see the chat or
Yeah,
get the
read it.
question. Seems like the practice of holding a question could be the 8th pillar, and then Mushtaq answered that that would be a meditational practice. So that's covered under one of the pillars already. And also, could attentively adhering to the namaz, that's the
5
Islamic
times ritual prayer, also called salat.
the namaz 5 times a day count as exercise pillar, because it's physical, because physically even that is a real challenge.
And the answer is, for a given person, yes. For some people, it's hard work to do that. It's hard work for me. I mean, sitting back on my heels is not as easy as it was 40 years ago. Damn it.
Mm.
But
Getting up Kneeling
Getting up.
down, getting up, kneeling down. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you've gone through 2 rakats and you're going, who turned up gravity?
Yeah. So if that is already a practice that you are committed to every day, then certainly count that within. But if you are able to do more than that,
Yeah.
it's something to think about expanding on.
Yeah, if I was advising you as to practice this, I would say, yes, by all means, do that 5 times a day, being careful to maintain perfect structure, even if it means you can't do things like bowing as deeply. But when you bow, hinge from your hips, not from your mid back, things like that. And I would coach you in all of that. And then I would say, and take a walk every day.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say, I can't take a walk. And I would say, you can. Can you make it to the bathroom? Then you can take a walk. Doesn't have to be a long walk. Around the block, up the street and back, not even around the block.
If you need to break it down even simpler than that, I mean, you can pace a couple rooms in your house or apartment just to start.
Yeah, Nora and I do that every day.
Yeah, to break up every hour, because as we've shared with some of you, we are finally taking action on some of the exercise goals that we've had for kind of an hour to hour basis. So to keep ourselves from sitting at our desks for 6 hours straight.
Yeah, and now we have room that we can do it.
Yes, unlike when we were living in our tiny house about, yeah, less than 6 months ago, where we literally had about 5 feet of space to work within. Things are different now. Alhamdulillah, thank God.
Yep.
So we're taking advantage.
So
And we make it fun.
There we have 2 ways of looking at our particular version of the school, which I stress again is not for everybody. There is somebody out there going, that all sounds stupid. And you're right, it's stupid. For you, dude, it's totally stupid. And you should never do it. And we support you never doing it. We don't need for everybody to agree that we have the coolest toys.
Yeah.
All right.
Halil says it actually sounds really cool, just freaking hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, and like I said, on this journey, I did not start out a physically active person at all. So, sometimes we just have to, if this is the path for us, right? We find ways to discover motivation and to make it fun. And sometimes community plays a big part in that. Sometimes setting goals, specific small goals, plays a big part in that.
Yeah, for those of you who are thinking things like exercise, where the hell does that fit into the spiritual path? Look up Zorkhane on YouTube and watch those guys. That is a spiritual discipline done in physical form. Zur, Z-U-R, Khane, Khanah, which literally means house of power.
All right. Zurkhan.
Yes, Persian wrestlers are part of this, or wrestling is part of Zulkhane, but it's way more than that. So that's the fun part. But they do a series of exercises using Shena, which is a push-up board, and the meal, which are the big clubs, and two big wooden shields, which are very daunting, and a giant steel bow strung with chain and all sorts of crazy stuff. Look them up. They're great. We love them. All done while the sheikh who is leading the exercise is setting the paces by singing verses from the Shahnameh, which is the great national epic of Iran. And back in the days, Zulkhanes were often associated with tariqas, with Sufi orders. We don't say that now because it's not safe to. At least not in Iran. I can say that here because the Iranians can go screw themselves.
America.
America.
But yeah, I think that that is a part of our spiritual heritage that has fallen by the wayside. And that's
Yep.
unfortunate because you know, as we've spoken about in the retreat, we see that many spiritual leaders, as well as their students, are falling into, you know, just the health struggles of modern life, despite everything else they're doing, meditation, you know, mental exercise and contemplation and being good to others and practicing healthy ethics. All of that is not going to reverse your diabetes, unfortunately.
No, but walking every day might.
Yes. So it's just part of creating this well-rounded set of practices that allows you to continue doing what you're doing for as long as your life allows you to.
And we want you to live a long time and be really, really successful in your life.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the path too.
Yeah.
Now, we aren't going to tell you what success is. You got to figure that one out for yourself because it's going to be different for everybody. But whatever it is for you, we want you to have it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, some thoughts.
Yeah. Do we have any questions from
Do your
anybody?
magic, Nor.
Call on people?
Yeah, make them talk.
All right. Frank, I've seen you nodding a few times. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, just reflecting as you were conducting the class, I've been listening to you guys now for a little over 2 years, and it has helped me tremendously just to add this to my current practices. I know that some of the concerns that I've heard you just speak of, that there are some people that may think that this is a bit much to try to do. But I think it just depends upon where you're at and where you're starting from. Uh, if you're, if you find, if I have found this to be just perfect for me, and it's allowed me to recover some of the sanity that I didn't think that I was gonna recover, and it's allowed me to work with other people in a community environment, as you shared in the fellowship arena. All men are friends if they're treated equal. I've been involved in other groups, spiritual groups, where it's always been the authority has always been in charge, and it leaves the whole group lacking. There are those that kind of fall in line with the authoritative figure, the one that's in charge, that's running the show. And then the rest, I don't know. I've just been involved in this for so many years now that it's something that I see. So I can really relate to that. Um, it's best when everybody is equal and everybody realizes that we need each other, so to speak. in a cooperative effort to do this. This community thing is very important for me. And, I guess that's really all I can say. I like what was said. This work for me, I wrote, is generative action to live in harmony in the now, seeing the truth as best as I can. And I think you guys have taught me that. So that's not from me. That's what I've learned from this group. So thank you for letting me share that.
Cool. That works.
Thank you, Frank. That's beautiful. Wow. I
Just
really
remember,
appreciate that.
if you've learned anything from us, it's your own damn fault.
Mhm.
Yeah. Nancy, how about you? Anything on your mind?
What I'm realizing is in some ways I'm not sure what I do think. I mean, it's very easy for me to think it's all hopeless. I can't possibly get this stuff right. But do I really believe that? I don't know.
Well, I don't believe it.
Well, of course you don't. And also I obviously have not reached the point of being offered specific stuff, but that's how it is.
Yeah, but when you're ready. It's not that you haven't gotten to the point, it's you have not brought yourself to the point. I mean, you and I have been working privately for some time now.
Mhm.
And when you are ready, you're going to go, hey, teach me some real shit. And I'm going to go, all right, do this. And then you're going to go, no. And then I'm going to go, all right, do this anyway.
I mean, I'm laughing because I've been there, you know.
Yeah, that's how I know how this one goes.
You're like, why am I not special? I mean, this is me. I can't speak for you, Nancy. But for me, it was like, well, what about me? What about me? In my head without saying that out loud. And then it's kind of like part of the learning is for me having the guts to ask, to both ask for and receive consent if that's what's appropriate for the circumstance.
Mhm.
It's not just going to get thrown at me. And sometimes I might ask for something and then I really wasn't ready for what I received. So then it's like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and you progress from there.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. And since I don't think I've been very diligent with the generic stuff, it doesn't make sense to ask for more specific stuff, I
I
think.
have great news for you. You are
Mhm.
not required to make sense.
Well, that's restful.
Yes.
For me too. Yeah. Thanks, Nancy.
Welcome.
Brian, how about you? What's on your mind? Any questions? Any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I just thought that it was a great reminder of all the reasons why I'm here. And it was just nice to hear it all, and happy to be a part of the group.
Happy to have you, Brian.
Yeah, you're doing the kind of work that it resonates with our particular way of doing things. It's like our teacher who just passed away. If you looked at the people who he got as students, in his case, they were all the really rowdy ones.
The ones the other sheikhs couldn't deal
Yeah,
with.
the ones the other sheikhs didn't want to have around for nothing. But that was because of his nature.
He was a rowdy guy.
Yeah, I mean,
A little cantankerous. I
More
mean, you guys have some things
cantankerous.
in common.
Well,
But he,
I think that's why he got stuck with me, because I mean, he grew up in the streets of Tarsus as a street fighter.
yeah,
Looked at his
yeah,
hands and his knuckles are all broken.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say I experienced him as even more cantankerous than you much
Yeah,
of
he
the time.
had
Yeah,
more spiritual power. So,
he could get away with it.
oh no, he could just pull it off. But
Yeah.
he was also, I mean, he was strong enough to deal with these huge egos.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, he was incredibly kind.
Yeah.
And so it balanced itself out. Sorry, we're doing a lot of remembering of him these last few weeks, especially me, because this is like my anniversary of meeting him. 30 years ago this week is when we first met. And so that's like kind of up for me. So
Yeah.
y'all are going to have to put up with a little bit of maudlin nostalgia from time to time.
I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
James has something to say.
James.
Yes, 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 yes. Because something you alluded to earlier, and it's one of the reasons why I wound up here. Because you seem to have a model which sort of corresponds with what I've thought. The difference between trance and awareness. So before I even heard of you guys, I already have a sort of ad hoc model that your day-to-day personality, your persona, your conditioned self, whatever you want to call it, is a set of behavioral loops, almost like little personalities by themselves. And it repeats and repeats. And by the time you're 25, it's kind of set. And occasionally you can have a practice or have induce some kind of trance where there's a different set of loops, but there's often a discontinuity between that trance state and your everyday persona, which is another kind of trance as far as I'm concerned. And a trance can be good or bad. It can be therapeutic. It can be diluted. It can be ecstatic, whatever. It might shift some information into your everyday self. It may not. It can give you a breather from your everyday self. So can alcohol and heroin. So yeah. Whereas an awareness practice seems to work on your default trance, your day-to-day self, to somehow expand the parameters of the loop into the same territory some trances might be touching on, but without losing your continuity, your lucidity. And that's been a model that I've been assessing various things for a while. And if it's just another trance practice, then I'm not interested. I wouldn't, yeah. Is that comparable to where you guys are coming from?
I think so. I think it sounds very similar to how we view things.
Yeah.
It came up kind of recently. Actually, conversation with Cherie recently. She was telling me about this place she came across in Bali called, I think it's called Pyramid of Chi. And it's this massive, on TripAdvisor, it's described as a marketplace of spiritual narcissism. But it's basic practices like, regress to your past life with a didgeridoo and have a cacao ceremony for your chakras and da, 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 da. And I'm just looking, I'm thinking trance. Might feel nice, but is it going to change anything? I mean, the advertising was great. The people were very toned and sleek, and and it sort of more recently when I discovered a person I see for physical therapy is a member of what I would call a cult, and it basically, once again, it's just trance practices. But her life's been miserable and painful, so I'm not surprised. But that is, and for myself, I just find my default trance, my conditioned self, is something I'm very impatient with. But if the only solution is to go off into an ecstatic trance every now and then, pleasant though they are, and occasionally they might give you a therapeutic insight, it's not changing anything. And I'm always going to default back to my day-to-day self. So that's the trance or the parameters or loops that has to be worked on. So to bring it back to this, when you were talking about, you know, sharks in the water, and if it's just ecstasy, then you're not interested. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. And that you have to tailor make the technique to the individual. Each individual is going to have a specific set of loops or little eyes or whatever you want to call them. That's what I'm. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. That's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that may be a really good way for people who are trying to grasp what we're talking about when we talk about why trances are not the work.
Yeah.
And yeah, trances can be therapeutic. We talk about taking rests and taking little mini vacations from the work because we all need that kind of it's like sleep, right? You need that time to check out, to recover, to refortify. But it's not going to push you farther. It's just going to keep
Yeah.
you where you're at. It's a refortification so that you can move forward.
Mm.
And that's at best, right? Because there are plenty of trances that are going to drag you
Yes.
into misery.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So we need to be conscious and diligent about the trances that we feed into, encourage, you know. So I think that that's excellent, James. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Frank, I see you unmuted. Did you have something you'd like to add?
Yes. Well, I was just listening to James, and I was thinking some of the success that I've found has been in trying to practice this self-remembering where I don't engage in active thinking. And I found that passive state, that mood, if I could call it that mindset, as Mushtak has taught to try to stay consciously aware of what's going on. So therefore being awake and not thinking really has offered a lot of new thoughts for me that I didn't generate myself. I don't know if that even makes sense, but it's sort of like a new understanding when I'm not trying to figure out my own, I'm not creating problems and not trying to solve them, I guess, is the only way that I could say it. I don't know, it gives me a reason to believe more of a universal consciousness. When I'm relaxed, I get interesting thoughts that are not necessarily my own, that I wouldn't normally have entertained, but because I'm not engaged in some pursuit, then I don't know if I'm even making sense, but I'm trying to make sense with it. So there you go. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, it makes sense to me. I don't know. I think that you've described it in your own words, and I think that's wonderful. And it's kind of, again, and we're going to get nostalgic. I remember our sheikh used to say, getting out of your own way. That was one of his things. He would talk about get out of your own way, and for him, it was like let Allah work through you. And we don't have to use the word Allah, but like let the universe work through you by getting your ego out of the way. And by just allowing for that inner silence and that inner expansiveness, that is essentially getting out of the way and allowing things to percolate, to bubble up. Inspiration, whether that's from within or from without, it's all the same in the end anyway, really. So
It certainly is comforting, much more comforting than me trying to run the show.
yes.
So thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah, did you have anything you'd like to add to that, Mushtaq?
No,
have
I think that covered.
Yeah, okay. So, Laviva, what are you thinking about?
I'm kind of in this camp. The only thing I've been able to work out is that one step at a time. I think one of the greatest challenges I've ever had in doing anything is trying to do too much all at once. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll get you.
and consequently, it's also, but if I can't see where I'm headed, if I can't see the structure of why I'm doing this, then those baby steps don't make any sense. So, so I like how it all got laid out. Although, it's like, it's kind of like the whole, how do you get to wherever one step at a time, and how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So it's like a marathon and an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you have to go slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a few years ago, there was a barefoot running fad. And I've been a minimalist runner my whole life. I've never owned a pair of Nikes and never will. And when I was in high school, I ran cross country and I ran it barefoot. So knew something about this. And people didn't believe me when I said, okay, for the first week, your running route is to the end of your driveway and back.
So why was that? For the people who are not familiar with the fad and who have not experienced barefoot running.
Because if you don't do it with that consideration of it's going to take time, you're going to give yourself double Charlie horses. You're going to break the bones in your feet because they are not used to the impacts that you're giving them. So it was like for the people who I coached, it was a month running these really short distances. Then we add a little bit more and a little bit more, do a lot of running on sand. Fortunately, I had the Great Lakes right there. So you just go down to the beach and you can run on the sand, and it's really quite easy and you don't break your foot bones. But so many people injured themselves.
Because they were trying to rush through it, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, why? I want to do this now.
It feels good in the moment until your calves cramp up, and then it no longer feels good. And you limp for days sometimes.
The
And
American culture.
yeah, stupid people did that.
From
Oftentimes,
the
yeah.
very onset of the country, everything is as soon as possible. Yesterday, if absolutely, if you can do it yesterday, so much the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, same thing with spiritual practice. Like, what do you mean that I have to wait for the, the personalized stuff? Like, why can't I do that now? What's the holdup? It's that sense of putting the cart before the horse and all of those old-timey metaphors. So
shoot the horse and get a car. Hurry up.
yeah, it's an even better one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for pointing to that, Levita, because I think that's something that we all are struggling to respect, I would say, is that these things take time. Thank you, Levita. Halil, are you feeling well enough to talk to us? I hope you're feeling better.
I am feeling a little better, thank you. Yeah, this is very, very enlightening. Like I said, I've been through lots of schools and lots of teachers, and one kind of common red thread that I've always experienced is this is maybe just a great paradox of life and the human condition. I don't know if anything can be done about it, but there are some things that are just absolute pluses that only that school can give you, and you can only benefit from that school because that school has uniquely those qualities. But there are other things that are just, well, almost intolerable, and that's why I've been through so many schools, because it's like I can't seem to get through past this thing of like, wow, I really want to be part of this school because of these features over here and this set of features, but this set of features I just can't abide by. So I don't know. I guess I just have to see and pray and and wait, I don't know how to get through this.
The good news is that we have intolerable built into the practice.
Well,
Yeah.
like, let me just give you an example of something I heard tonight. I mean, everything Mushtak that you said is like perfect. That's exactly the kind of school I'm looking for. But it's like when you said that the Neo-Advaita people are not a school, I really balk at that, because not only have I gained personally from their teachings, but I see a deep wisdom and authenticity in that. Now, that's not an intolerable point. That's just your opinion, and I have a different opinion. But maybe it just gave me a little, I don't know, red flag as to what might come up again. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm just sitting on this stuff, but 99%, I'm totally on board. I think it's just absolutely great.
Yeah. See, the thing that we do here is that we're adults. And that means
Yeah, that's what I
we're
love
allowed
about
to
this
have
school.
different
Yeah.
opinions.
Right. Right.
And you can love these people. I mean, I would be happy to give you a link to my favorite starry-eyed blonde Advaita chick. I try and watch her every week. I usually can't get more than 2 minutes into her, but
I think I know who you're
thousands of
talking
people,
about.
yeah, thousands
Yeah.
of people love her. And to me, she's talking word salad. But I recognize that thousands of people love her. And even if she is a complete blithering idiot, that doesn't mean that the people who listen to her may not gain enlightenment.
Right. Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. But like, I'm thinking of somebody like Rupert Spira, who was inspired by Ramana Maharshi, so that when you go back to Ramana's writings, there is no doubt in my mind that Ramana was one of the greatest spiritual giants of the age. And just reading Ramana is a blessing for me. And some of that comes off Rupert Spira. I mean, I think I know the chick you're talking about, and I would actually avoid her too. But I think that would be a straw man to use her as an example, you know.
No, because I don't avoid her.
Oh,
Ask Nora, she'll tell you.
Yeah. If anyone avoids her, it's probably me, just being honest. But
yeah.
I didn't catch all of that because my internet disconnected. So
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah. We are allowed, each and every one of us, to have different opinions.
yeah, I mean that's another thing that people either love or find really challenging about this space is that even Mushtaq and I don't agree on everything. We are
Mhm.
not of one mind, and so each
And
of us
I am very
irk the other at
about certain
times.
things. I know it's hard to believe, but it's,
What's that?
I said, I'm very opinionated about it.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I am perfectly happy to let everybody else have their opinion.
Yeah,
We think of ourselves as anarcho-Muslims.
we
Right.
have used that phrase before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So consensus is not necessarily something that we are heavy on.
Yeah, and
I
most
have
there are
noticed
some
this.
things that we insist upon consensus, such as don't hurt each other.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Nothing happens without affirmative consent. That has to be consensus in this particular school. And I've got to watch so many people blow it. And some of those people were good friends. I have 2 friends who literally became cult leaders. And I watched them go down that path going, no, not that. And so we have tried to build in everything we can to protect ourselves from that and protect you from even us. I mean, because it can happen to anybody if you're not careful.
Yeah.
One of
And
these days I might be going, damn, Khalil, you haven't given me all of your money yet. What's wrong with you?
Yes. Well, you know, I want to make this a sandwich, so I'm going to end on a positive note too. And that is that, you know, I am definitely not what Gurdjieff calls man number one. And I can tell that's kind of where this school is oriented toward body stuff. And it's really something I need. So I need something to whip me into shape and get me to cover the basis for the man number one, because I focus so much on my brain and I'm so much in my head.
Yeah,
So I really
actually,
appreciate all those bits.
That's good, but we are not oriented towards man number 1. We are oriented towards man number 4, which we
Inshallah.
balance 1, 2, and 3.
But there's a lot of, you have to admit, there's a lot of physical stuff in the pillars, in the 7 pillars, right?
There's some physical stuff, yeah.
Anyway, I like it, so I have no
And
problem.
we will be happy to help you work on your physical stuff, because it's like, it's not like I know that you will find this hard to believe, but I'm not an Arnold Schwarzenegger type. Yeah. I'm an ectomorph. I spent most of my life being, skinny until somebody introduced me to high fructose corn sugar, and that was a different thing. But yeah, so this is not being athletic. It is being let me put this. So you may have touched on this at some point, and I was quite pleased to see it, because I've for years had this idea that there were certain Greek archetypes that mirrored human adulthood, especially for males. And I always started it out with Hercules. The child loves Hercules, right? I am big, I am the strongest. I can crush you. I can pick you up and throw you down and jump up and down on your spine. I am the strongest, right? Then you get to be an adolescent, you get to be a teenager, and Achilles becomes the archetype for you. I am the greatest. I am not the strongest, but I have the most skill. I am the best swordsman. I can use my tools better. But after that, you get Odysseus, who is not the strongest and not the best warrior, but he was the smart guy. And I think you added a fourth one to it, if I remember correctly.
Well, we had it back and forth because I consider Socrates to be man number 4, and you picked Heraclitus, and then I see
That's right,
Socrates
yeah.
as being kind of a synthesis of Heraclitus and Parmenides. But yeah, I mean, I get the basic curve of the argument, and I agree with it.
Yeah,
Definitely,
so
definitely those stages are there.
yeah, I really got a kick out of that little conversation, because it's the first time I've seen anybody else think about it in those terms. So you get full points for that.
Awesome. Shukran.
Yeah. Now you should know that we do keep a tally and collect points. You don't get to do anything with them, but they're there.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, Frank, yeah, we got to say goodnight too. We're just kind of messing around at this point.
Yep.
So let's switch to Brady Bunch real quick.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And I think this conversation just goes to show that we are all coming to this road from many different directions, but sharing the journey for this period of time, however long that might be. And I love that. So thank you to all of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can wave to each other, wave to everybody watching on the replay, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Next week. Bye.